www.guyperryman.com.
Supersonic Inspiration.
Great to welcome back on board Karl Hyde. Hello.
Hey, Guy. How's it going?
I'm fantastic, and I'm all the better for speaking with you because it's been a long time since you and I have chatted.
Yeah, it has. So what went wrong?
I don't know. You left. No, actually, I left you because last time you were in Japan, I was not here. So actually, I'm just, saying I missed the amazing tomato exhibition at Parco.
Oh, that was extraordinary. I mean, it was great to be back together for some of us who hadn't seen each other for years and years, but to celebrate 25 years of working together and all that went on with the exhibitions, the installation that Rick and I did, and then the concert on the roof of Parco and tying in with the big screen at the Shibuya crossing. It was like one of those things that when we first came to Japan many years ago, we sat down in a restaurant and said, "Wouldn't it be great if?" And it was one of those moments where all those ifs were ticked.
That's so perfect, and what a perfect place to do it. Shibuya Crossing, department store, you connect in radio, internet, the visuals, the artwork, the music, it's a live performance. I mean, just spectacular multimedia.
It was fantastic. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a very well-known person in the world, and he's kind of quite famous for doing things like this over the years, and as I was telling him the story of what we're doing, his mouth was opening wider and wider. And you could see it was one of those, wow, I wish I'd done that.
Well, please come back and give us part 2 one day.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, though, we do have a fab new Underworld album, Barbara, We Face a Shining Future. It's a rather positive title. I love that. It's
a great title, isn't it? It's something we've been reminded of several times, when we might have hit a sticky spot or it might have got a bit difficult or we haven't been sleeping as well as we would like to have done. And someone will remind us of the title, and say, we face a shining future. It's a beautiful sentiment and one which carries within it not only a memory of someone who was a great man, which is Rick's father, who said this gave us this quote, but also of where we're heading. It's not to get too worried, not to get too down, and not to be thinking too far ahead and seeing the negative, but just realizing that we are still here. And that we are still making things that we enjoy and still encountering such extraordinary opportunities and meeting people that we meet in our path that are like markers who show that we're on the right road. We meet a lot of good people that remind us that we must be on the right road.
We're so bombarded by the bad news and the bad people and the things we worry about in life. But I had a great conversation with someone the other day who's travelled immensely and extensively around the world, and he said that the common thing with human beings is most of us are pretty good. And he said, he still has a very positive vibe about the human race. And I just thought, God, that's such a good thing to hear.
I find that's true. It was interesting that the war that happened here in Croatia, and I went into, it was horrific that seeing places that were so familiar to home and all that went on there. And went into the zone not long after the war. I was working with the War Child Organization, and it was what struck me, the thing that I was left with, apart from the decimation of life and buildings and the infrastructures that were commonplace to everyday life. What really struck me was that mostly young people who were getting dressed up to go out on a Friday night and get back to normal life, and their whole attitude was one of positivity. We want to be back having a positive time, and that will last with me forever. But there's always the sense of we face a shining future. Not to be too crass about that title, but it's an incredibly rich image to have of the positivity that exists within people to make something good out of every situation, to turn it to a positive rather than to believe in the corrosive nature of the negative.
You have that positive title, and it's your 7th studio album, I believe, and is it the first in 6 years? Because if that's true, I'm thinking, I'm loving it because the tracks are dark and long, just how I love them for Underworld. But where are your guys' heads at musically at the moment? What do you think this album is to you?
Oh, well, first of all, a celebration of two guys who've been friends and are better friends than ever, and of an open-mindedness between two guys who just love working together. And I say just, and that's no small thing after 36 years. This is a very clear indication of the energy that exists between Rick and myself. He's my favourite of all people to work with on anything, and I mean no disrespect to any of the great people that I've worked with over the years, but something extraordinary happens when Rick and I get together in the room, and this was a period of our lives where we would turn up for 2 days a week and just start making something out of nothing. And that's what this record is. The two of us going on a journey, on an exploration into somewhere that we had no idea where we were going, but we intuitively knew what direction to go in.
Did it take a long time? Did it take 6 years to put this together, or do you work quite quickly?
This happened in a number of months.
Wow!
By the time from when we started, from start to finish, it was delivered in under a year.
Wow!
You know, I mean, if you include Rick making the record, which is the most intense period of all, and literally we would get together for 2 days a week, sometimes only for a couple of hours, and then not every week because we were on tour with the Dub No Bass show. So there were great periods of time where there was no recording. So, you know, a very short period of time this came together, and for me, it also encapsulates that spontaneity, that enthusiasm, that excitement of turning up and being really desperate to be back together again.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I love it. I can feel it already. It must be so exciting to get into that studio and just play around for a while. Yeah.
Well, it was. We both had a bunch of new toys. There was a lot of hardware. It was very idiosyncratic, the instruments were, and that they both reflected our individual passions, and we'd come together in the room and we'd start making sounds and noises. And when something excited us, we'd start recording, and then that would suggest a melody, and that would suggest words, and then we would start to play more games and improvise. And it was great on this record because Rick is singing more. The two of us you hear our voices a lot more, and that's something I've always loved. I love his voice. I love the way he sounds and the way he provokes me when he starts to use his voice and to play in particular ways. And he'd pick up my guitar sometimes and play something. And, oh, that's so much better than me. That's great. You know, you do that. And there was it was just like a couple of kids that were playing games in the schoolyard.
As Paul McCartney said when I interviewed him once, he said, we don't work for a living, we play for a living. So I thought that was pretty good.
That's very much what this record, I would say 80% of this record was like. Then you have the 20% where Rick is locked in a dungeon and then he has to finish it. And that's the next bit that we're working on. How to get the playtime into that bit.
I cannot wait to see it live, and you've got an incredible summer festival season coming up. Netherlands, Slovakia, Norway, Spain, Belgium, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Germany, Glastonbury, and of course Japan.
Very excited. And for us, this is sort of almost halfway through, because we were out in America and we did European shows before this, and of course we were in Japan earlier in the year. So now we hit that festival season, and it's always very different because you're very often playing to very large audiences, the large majority of whom maybe only know one of our songs, some of whom don't even know who we are, and that's a fantastic challenge for us because then we have to we have to reach out. We have to turn people on who might know nothing about us at all. Yeah, that's exciting. That is really exciting, communicating with such large crowds and introducing them to our music and what it is that we do.
How do you turn people on in that sort of situation? Is it something you can sort of preconceive and sort out before you hit the road? Is it something that can happen spontaneously on stage?
We're lucky that our music is about celebration. So when we're headlining a festival, as we are when we come back to Japan, we are at the end of the day. People have come to celebrate, and at the end of the day, they want to go home with a smile. They want to go home feeling lifted, we engage in that kind of music. A lot of our music is about that kind of mood, that kind of sentiment, that sort of celebration within large crowds of people. And it's what we've been doing for 25 years now with this group. So for us, our point is to kind of suss the energy of the crowd. That comes across really quickly within the first tune, probably within the first few bars of the tune. And then from then on, give people what they want, which is to enjoy themselves, to be lifted, to celebrate, to have a good time. It's that countering the bad news.
All sounds good.
That's our job.
All sounds good to me. Glastonbury Festival next weekend. What do you love about Glastonbury?
What do I love about Glastonbury?
Yeah.
You meet a lot of old friends, a lot of friends that I haven't seen for a long time, a lot of new friends. So Glastonbury is one of those festivals where there are going to be a lot of other bands there who we don't get the opportunity to meet up with because we're all out at various parts of the world. So there's going to be a real gathering of friends. I've already received a lot of messages from other bands that are going to come and hang out when we go down there. And it's a kind of festival which it's more like a city. If you take away the main stage, you have these bizarre other stages and worlds and towns and installations and performances, and it's like a wonderland of strange creatures, and that's what I love about Glastonbury. It's those areas mostly away from the main stage that have got the true nature of this very curious, idiosyncratic tribe which only seems to exist at Glastonbury.
I do love that idea, though, because it seems more and more festivals, or some very interesting festivals, are putting on such interesting stages. In the old days it was just about the music, but now there's just a whole range of things, and all the festivals are taking on their own personalities as well.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to see that. I'm really pleased. You're quite right. There used to be the same names rolling around and playing music, and whilst the main stages are really, really important, I'm always interested to see what a festival creates for people away from the main stage. So there are some festivals which create such a wonderful and captivating environment away from the main stage, worlds that you can visit, fantasy worlds, places that you can just escape reality with these amazing, surreal landscapes, and that really excites me a lot.
A couple of quick festival questions. Do you have a favourite festival moment that you'll never forget?
Ooh, there's been so many. I'm trying to think now. It could possibly be the time that we played at Rainbow 2000 on the slopes of Mount Fuji, when probably one of the first, if not the first, electronic festival in Japan, and watching the sun come up and this fabulous mountain was revealed in front of us. It was that I'll remember forever.
Favourite backstage moment, or a best backstage moment at a festival? Is it ever fun backstage? Or can't you tell us?
Well, only if the catering is good. But it's interesting. I remember probably the same festival where I brought my father out there, and I lost him. I completely lost him. And my father is in his 80s now, but he's very young for his age. And I remember finding him backstage, surrounded by a big circle of young people who, while he was dancing to techno in the middle of them, and they were just clapping their hands in time with the music, and someone turning to me and saying, your dad's crazy. And I was like, yeah, absolutely right. You should try going up with him.
Sounds like you're definitely your father's son, though.
Oh, he's worse. I'm the normal one by comparison.
Festival must-have item. What's something that you would have to take to a festival? Apart from your music.
Wellies very, very important. I would say definitely that's a biggie. But probably the most important is a fabulous catering, food, wonderful food. That's really, really important. And we judge a lot of festivals by their catering, not only for the artists, but what they offer for people that have paid to come.
Well, I hope Supersonic will lay it on for you. We cannot wait to see you on the big stage at Supersonic in August. Karl Hyde, as always, a pleasure. One quick one for people who need a daily fix of Underworld or a daily fix of you. Karls Diary every day on underworldlive.com. I love it.
Thank you. It's ingrained in my being. My children have grown up with seeing Dad at the kitchen table writing every day. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is it's going to come out as a book in later this year. It's going to be published as a book, a really beautiful book that John Warwicker from Tomato has put together. So some of them are my early workings out of ideas and improvements on things I've written that day. That then I'll put back in my notebook and we will sing. Yeah, it's a kind of open source lyric for me, so I can go anywhere in the world and I can log on and my lyrics are there, so I can use them. And
we can read them, which is even more fun. We get to read your diaries, so fab stuff.
Yeah, the inner workings of Hyde's head.
Well, Karl Hyde, keep it coming and keep shining into the future, and we will see you very soon. Have a fantastic festival season. Enjoy Glastonbury next weekend.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you very much for your support. Can't wait to be back there. Both of us are really looking forward to it.
Yay. Safe travels, and we'll see you real soon.